All right. I think we're live. Push 1 in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for that confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 788, Sapio-Males Guide to the Galaxy. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. Docket and description beneath the video for you to follow along with and reference. If you want to get on the panel, there'll be a link in the chat. It's for Zoom. If you have a Zoom client on your phone or your laptop or your desktop, make sure you update the client before joining. Just give me a second. Let me drop the link. And then we can get started. We give a shout out to people who showed up. Corey, Lorenz, peace. Topaz presents peace to you. Thank you for joining. Let me know when you can see my screen. Put a 1 in the chat if you can see my screen. All right, cool. Got a confirmation from the chat. Let me get started. This is from MIT News. Understanding our place in the universe. Martin Luther King Jr. scholar Brian Nord trains machines to explore the cosmos and fights for equity and research. Let me expand this out. Let's get started. Brian Nord first fell in love with physics when he was a teenager growing up in Wisconsin. His high school physics program wasn't exceptional, and he sometimes struggled to keep up with class material, but those difficulties did nothing to dampen his interest in the subject. In addition to the main curriculum, students were encouraged to independently study topics they found interesting. And Nord quickly developed a fascination with the cosmos. Quote, a touchstone that I often came back to is space, he says. The mystery is of traveling in it and seeing what's at the edge. Nord was an avid reader of comic books, and astrophysics appealed to his desire to become a part of something bigger. There always seemed to be something special about having his kinship with the universe around you, he recalls. I always thought it would be cool if I could have that deep connection to physics. Nord began to cultivate that connection as an undergraduate at the Johns Hopkins University after graduating with a BA in physics. He went on to study at the University of Michigan, where he earned his MS and PhD in the same field. By this point, he was already thinking big, but he wanted to think even bigger. The desire for a more comprehensive understanding of the universe led him away from astrophysics and toward the more expansive field of cosmology. Cosmology deals with the whole kit and caboodle, the whole shebang, he explains. Our biggest questions are about the origin and the fate of the universe. Nord was particularly interested in parts of the universe that can't be observed through traditional means. Evidence suggests that dark matter makes up the majority of the mass in the universe and provides most of its gravity, but its nature largely remains in the realm of hypothesis and speculation. It doesn't absorb, reflect, or emit any type of electromagnetic radiation, which makes it nearly impossible for scientists to detect. But while dark matter provides gravity to pull the universe together, an equally mysterious force, dark energy, is pulling it apart. We know even less about dark energy than we do about dark matter, Nord explains. For the past 15 years, Nord has been attempting to close the gap in our knowledge. Part of his work focuses on the statistical modeling of galaxy clusters and the ability to distort and magnify light as it travels through the cosmos. This effect, which is known as strong gravitational lensing, is a useful tool for detecting the influence of dark matter on gravity and for measuring how dark energy affects the expansion of rate of the universe. After earning his PhD, Nord remained at the University of Michigan to continue his research as part of a postdoctoral fellowship. He currently holds a position at the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory and is a senior member of the Kavli Institute for Cosmological Physics at the University of Chicago. He continues to investigate questions about the origin and destiny of the universe, but his more recent work has also focused on improving the ways in which we make scientific discoveries. When it comes to addressing big questions about the nature of the cosmos, Nord has consistently run into one major problem. Although his mastery of physics can sometimes make him feel like a superhero, he's only human, and humans aren't perfect. They make mistakes, adapt slowly to new information, and take a long time to get things done. The solution, Nord argues, is to go beyond the human, into the realm of algorithms and models. As part of Fermilab's artificial intelligence project, he spends his days teaching machines how to analyze cosmological data, a task for which they are better suited than most human scientists. Artificial intelligence gives us models that are more flexible than what we can create ourselves with pen and paper, Nord explains. In a lot of cases, it does better than humans do. Nord is continuing this research at MIT as part of the Martin Luther King Jr. Visiting Scholars and Professors program. Earlier this year, he joined the Laboratory for Nuclear Science, LNS, with Jesse Thaler in the Department of Physics and Center for Theoretical Physics as his faculty host. Thaler is the director of the National Science Foundation's Institute for Artificial Intelligence and Fundamental Interactions. Since arriving on campus, Nord has focused his efforts on exploring the potential of AI to design new scientific experiments and instruments. These processes ordinarily take an enormous amount of time. He explains, but AI could rapidly accelerate them. Quote, could we design the next particle collider or the next telescope in less than 5 years instead of 30, he wonders. But if Nord has learned anything from the comics of his youth, it is that with great power comes great responsibility. AI is an incredible scientific asset, but it can be used for more nefarious purposes. The same computer algorithms that could build the next particle collider also underlie things like facial recognition software and the risk assessment tools that inform sentencing decisions in criminal court. Many of these algorithms are deeply biased against people of color. Quote, it's a double-edged sword, Nord explains, because if AI works better for science, it works better for facial recognition. So I'm working against myself. In recent years, Nord has attempted to develop methods to make the application of AI more ethical. And his work has focused on the broad intersections between ethics, justice, and scientific discovery. His efforts to combat racism in STEM have established him as a leader in the movement to address inequities and oppression in an academic and research environments. In June of 2020, he collaborated with members of Particles for Justice, a group that boasts MIT professors Daniel Harlow and Tracy Slater, as well as former MLK visiting scholar and CTP researcher Shonda Prescott Weinstein, to create the academic strike for Black lives. The strike, which emerged as a response to the police killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and many others, called on the academic community to take a stand against anti-Black racism. Nord is also the co-author of Black Light, a curriculum for learning about Black experiences, and the co-founder of Change Now, which produced a list of calls for action to make more just laboratory environment at Fermilab. As a co-founder of Deep Skies, he also strives to foster justice-oriented research communities free of traditional hierarchies and oppressive power structures. Quote, "The basic idea is just humanity over productivity," he explains. This work has led Nord to reconsider what motivated him to pursue a career in physics in the first place. When he first discovered his passion for the subject as a teenager, he knew he wanted to use physics to help people, but he wasn't sure how. Quote, I was thinking I'd make some technology that will save lives, and I still hope to do that," he says. "But I think maybe more of my direct impact, at least in this stage of my career, is in trying to change the culture." Physics may not have granted Nord flight or X-ray vision, not yet, at least, but over the course of his long career, he has discovered a more substantial power. "If I can understand the universe," he says, "maybe that will help me understand myself and my place in the world and our place as humanity." Now, I think this is very interesting. I think this brother is very talented. And it does beg the question, right? Let me make sure nobody's waiting in the lobby. All right. What is our place in the universe? Okay. What do people really know about what happens outside of our peripheral view of space? Okay. How are we really engaging that question? How are we really engaging the environment? Do we really know what's really going on? I think what's happening amongst Black people is that we're getting too caught up in things that don't really have a return on investment or don't really address a lot of the issues. And what I see happening here is that this brother is taking advantage of the technology to try to use it to better the conditions for Black people as a whole. But I would go one step further and say that I think this brother is actually engaging in Afrofuturism, primarily because he's actually leveraging artificial intelligence to break down areas without the hierarchies that he mentioned, right? And most times, like the James Webb Telescope, it's a predominantly white, male, power structured, social structured sort of technology and instrument. But where do Black people see themselves in these sort of areas of investigation, research, development? Where are we in all of this, right? What does it mean to actually understand the cosmos? A lot of folks ain't thinking like that. Or maybe not in this space, but a lot of folks ain't really thinking like that. And, instead they'll tell you that Chat GPT, is going to solve a lot of our issues. Well, this brother disagrees. They'll tell you that your horoscope, they'll read their horoscope to you. And, you got AI that can actually break down these numbers in your face in real time. And that's what this brother is doing. He's really breaking it down or allowing AI to break down all of the more complex issues that we couldn't answer before by feeding it and training it to actually do it. Okay. Very interesting piece. I thought it was, worthy of actually being put on the brain trust, because I think it has these multiple intersections. I know there's some people in this space, man, they can't stand the whole idea of intersectionality, but I think he really addresses it perfectly, right? The technology, the cosmos, and Black people's place within society and within the cosmos itself. Because you really don't see Black people engaging in space exploration outside of Black Panther or maybe some comic book like was said in the article. You really don't see Black people really engaging at that level, okay? What you see is a lot of Black men not really interested in that outside of, maybe He-Man or something like that, right? But they don't really have the vested interest. Last year for Christmas, I bought somebody's son a telescope, okay? I went to Micro Center, they had a good sale, and I bought a telescope for this woman's son, okay? One of the best gifts he can ever have. He didn't even know what a telescope was. This telescope didn't cost a lot, but it can do a whole lot based on where they live. Okay, he goes up 100 feet on a mountaintop or a hill or something like that late at night, and he can put that up there and he can see pretty much the moon. Okay? It's not that powerful, but it's powerful enough to see the moon. And all you got to do is connect it to your cell phone, and what it does is it actually leverages the GPS positioning to set the telescope, so you don't have to actually figure it out for yourself. These are the sort of intricate details that are necessary for massaging the brain of the youth so that they have a better idea of what's going on beyond the gravity under their feet. Okay? How do we actually engage beyond, beyond the manosphere? Beyond these talking points that, about who's sleeping with who and who's getting with who and who said what. I think this is really interesting. And not only do I think it's just interesting, about the whole cosmos, but I also think what he's doing as a whole is actually impactful, because when you take into consideration some of the, some of the collaborations he's doing in terms of ethics and science and research, the anti-Black racism piece that he's focusing on. So he's centering it around Blackness. He's centering it around Africanness. You really can't challenge him in these areas anymore, right? You really can't say, well, no one's really doing things for Black folks at this level, or Black folks need to really get involved in science. Well, according to this, there are a lot of Black folks involved in science. They're just not in the manosphere. Okay. Telescopes are really not that expensive. I think I paid, let me see, I think I paid $100 for that telescope. And it came with the tripod and everything else. All you think you have to do is really just set it up. And I think it takes maybe about a few minutes for you to take it out of the box and prop it up on its stanchion, on its tripod, and then mount it, screw it in, download the software, and connect it to your cell phone, because it has a USB cable. It connects to your cell phone. Let me see if I can find it, because I think that's really might be a better thing if I find it for you. Let Complex in. Hey, what's going on, Complex?
Hey, what's good, Mike? Hey, give me 1 second, dude. I'll be with you in just 1 second.
Yep. Oh, here we go, right here. All right, let me share my screen real quick. Actually, that's not it. That's the wrong one. Yeah, here it is right here. Let me share my screen real quick. So here's an example. I don't think it's the exact model, but it's the exact picture of exactly what I had picked up. And so you can see right here, the smartphone is connected to it. Okay.
Yo, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he's rocking this right now. I mean, it's their seasons are different over in Africa, but we're going into our spring and summer months, and they're going into their winter months. So it's a little bit different now. But Christmas for them is a lot warmer. And so he's rocking this right now, man, and he has no complaints about it. Okay. There's a whole entire app that goes with this that tells you exactly, you know, where you need to pivot the telescope and where you need to stand best to actually get the results, the best results, to capture images.
Oh,
Okay.
nice. Okay.
Yeah. Now, I personally haven't. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, because I messed around with just like the astronomy apps, like Stellarium. I used to have Stellarium on my old Mac laptop a long time ago. But now they're integrating with the telescope. That's dope.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you want more Black people to be involved in the scientific research in space exploration of the cosmos, man, you're gonna have to start them young. You can start them off with a telescope. It doesn't really cost a whole lot, man. They last a long time. As long as you take care of it, a telescope can last, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, as long as you don't drop it, do longer.
Yeah, you put it back in this case where it belongs, you should be fine. And so I paid even 79 or 100 for it at around Christmas time. But the point of the matter here is that the ability for a child to, start their journey, I think it makes a lot of sense. And if you want more, actually, let me drop the link in the chat because I think that would be beneficial to a lot of people. Yeah, if you want more brothers like this, right? Who was not the best student, okay? According to the article, he was not the best student. But he had a laser focus on space exploration, and more importantly, the cosmos itself. That's what happens when you put your mind to something. Okay.
Yeah, you don't always have to be like the straight A student in something. You just have to have a passion in something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The passion is what counts. The dedication is what counts. So I definitely think Afrofuturism as a subject should be taught, at the K through 12 level. How else do you get more nerds, right? And in this space, man, this brother right here would be considered an educated lane, according to some content creators. But if we look at the work he has put in, right here, in recent years, Nord has attempted to develop methods to make the application of AI more ethical, and his work has focused on the broad intersections between ethics, justice, and scientific discovery. That's a badass dude.
And Mike, and then the circles of science and technology, absolutely. Like you said, there's a cultural schism. And those of y'all, if you guys want to dig in the crates, we've done a few live streams, kind of modeling out this Afrofuturism piece as a cultural imperative, because that is how you have to have a vision of the future, and then like actually try to achieve that, try to become that idea or that vision of what it is. So you have to have a futurist thought or ideology, and it is important for kids to have it. And yeah, I think there should be some curriculum like comic books or like learning materials and shit like that, where it involves like futuristic concepts and stuff like that, future colonies, and to teach like climate and ecosystems and stuff. Hell yeah. Yeah, we're too kind of like past centered. A lot of our ideologies about today, in terms of society, socially engineering our own communities and stuff like that, is largely based on past tenets. Like you rarely hear about like future thinkers, right? Trying to lead the way. It's not that many people.
Yeah. His efforts to combat racism in STEM have established him as a leader in the movement to address inequities and oppression in academic and research environments. In June of 2020, he collaborated with members of Particles for Justice, a group that boasts MIT professors Daniel Harlow and Tracy Slater, as well as former MLK visiting scholars and CTP researcher Shonda Prescott Weinstein, to create academic strike for Black lives. You don't see, when people want to talk about wokeism, right? Oh, I just can't stand all this wokeism. That they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing in their environment, based on their skill set, based on their interests. So they fight from where they stand, okay? That's how you engage and combat anti-racism and anti-Blackness. Okay, they're inside the academy doing this openly. Whereas some folks, they get inside the academy, man, and they just kind of, bid their time with their tenure and don't really engage much. You don't really see anything from them, you don't hear anything from them, despite all of the credentialed folks that you hear in this space being propped up nonstop. And so I have to tip my hat to this brother for all the work that he's doing. Particles for Justice. Who would have thought of something like that? Only Black folks can think of that, right? Only Black folks can think like this, man. This dude is thinking on another planet, literally, figuratively, right? He's on another planet saying, listen, we're going to fight from everywhere. If that means that we have to go out in space and fight too, this is where we're going to fight from. That's an incredible place to, incredible mindset to have, right? And so I just think that, let me read this one last piece again. Okay. Nord is also the co-author of Blacklight, a curriculum for learning about Black experiences, and the co-founder of Change Now, which produced a list of calls for action to make a more just laboratory environment at Fermilab. Okay, so we sometimes in these social spaces, we assume that educated Black folks, especially Black men, don't really care about the community. And in reality, they have a different approach to confrontation. And so their idea of confrontation is to demand more equity within the academic spaces to, increase the numbers of Black folk involved in the research, right? And demand that they have more funding set aside so that they can buy more microscopes, more telescopes, more instruments, and so on and so forth. That's how they fight. That's how a lot of STEM folks, that's how they engage the process. But I think what happens sometimes in Black spaces, Black social spaces outside of the academy, they assume that if they don't see it getting done, then it ain't getting done. In reality, it is getting done, right? The fight is happening. You're just not aware of it because you're not a part of that social circle.
It's like when people, like when they'll make these very grandiose assumptions about how like the inner workings of other cultures, but have never really interfaced with those cultures, right? So they just kind of make assumptions from the outside, and they've never kind of been in where they're at, right? To kind of like understand maybe what it is that they see in the realm that they're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all are of different stripes, professionally, educationally, and geographically, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, dude, it's like, when you get these real base assumptions, like, that whole EL thing, the educated lame thing, and it's just like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, it's kind of like, dude, like as Black folks, like we face the same type of shit, even if we're in different venues. We still see it, we still experience it, right? So it still has to be addressed.
Yeah. As the co-founder of Deep Skies, he also strives to foster justice-oriented research communities free of traditional hierarchies and oppressive power structures. The basic idea is just humanity over productivity, he explains. You really can't get more cut and straight to the point than that. I know some folks would think that, man, if we just had more super chats, man, if we just had more cash apps, man, not going to solve your issue, bro. Might put more money in your pocket, but it doesn't solve the
I'm about
issue.
to say it might solve some issue.
Yeah, might put more money in your pocket, but it doesn't actually solve the issue. And so this is what happens when you put your intelligentsia in the room and ask them to figure out how to fight back. And you really don't need to tell them anything. They just go back and fight back anyways, right? They're going to do it naturally because they know that the system is rigged against them and against us. And so they're going to take the opportunity to try to squeeze their way in, read the room, see that the room isn't receptive to them and people like us. And then they're going to fight back their way. And so they organize, like I've been saying in this space for a long time, like we've been saying, that you got to organize in order to get some things done. And a lot of guys don't feel they need to organize to get anything done. They think that, I'll just fight from StreamYards. Okay. What happens when you hit end stream? Does anything change after that? Not
No,
likely.
that's pretty much the end of it right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this has me thinking that maybe we should have more, instead of more basketball courts and football fields and, AAU, tournaments, maybe we should have more funding for scientific research labs like this. How do we put a telescope on top of, a building, or how do we create a mobile telescope, right? When I say mobile, how do we take a pickup truck, the flatbed in the pickup truck, and how do we mount a massive size telescope that's appropriate for that chassis,
Mm-hmm.
and then take it as far as we can up to a mountaintop as far as we can, and then we observe from there, and then we push all that data up to the cloud, all that information up to the cloud, and then we make it available to a lot of folks on the ground, and back in the laboratory, right? And so now we have a more now we're creating these sort of space exploration think tanks inside the Black community, right off
like
of public funding.
urban observatories.
Yeah. And you may not be able to do that in the United States because there's so much light pollution, right? But I think there's still quite a few opportunities that can be done. Maybe somewhere like in Maine and some of these other high places like in Canada and stuff like that. But as long as it's put on the back of a chassis of a pickup truck, you can get a lot of things done. And let me take out the pickup truck and let me put in a transit van, right? These Ford transit vans, these tall vans that you see doing Amazon deliveries, right? Yeah, a Sprinter too, right? And then you put all your computing power inside that van, screens and everything. Things can get done, okay? Things like that can get done. Nothing saying that some corporation that is finished using their van Penske would name your rental service, decides that they're going to give away one of these vans, and then we're going to be able to convert it. That's a project in itself.
Yeah, like what you mean, like doing a conversion on a box or a Sprinter.
Yeah,
similar to how these dudes will build those overlanders.
Yeah,
And they build the overlanders and the kind of like those camper style. You fit it out, you kit it out the same in the same fashion, just as an observatory.
mm-hmm.
Just tech it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
This
maybe
can
have like a whatchamacallit,
Starlink.
a Starlink. Yep.
Yeah, things can get done. This is not far-fetched. This is not outside of the realm of possibility. Right? And if you really want to take it one step further, you could actually ship that vehicle after you finish putting it together, ship it off to Africa, go to Uganda, go to one of the highest mountain points, Congo or something like that. And you can put all of that computing power and observatory power capability to work.
Hell, you got guys that the one thing they do on YouTube is they do like the 24/7 streaming, right? It's like, and they
Yep.
do this all types of stuff, man. Like my daughter always has Rain playing on her TV, right? So there's always like some cityscape with rain and all that kind of stuff, right? But then they also have the 24/7 streams where you got dudes literally telescope, right? And they're just like moving around, tracking stars and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It could even be something like that.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility here. And what this brother has done and some of the collaborations he has done, that's stuff that the Manosphere should have been talking about 5 and 6 years ago. Instead, we were called snobs for talking about this type of stuff.
Oh, yes, we were.
Yeah, we were called snobs. And so, again, I have to tip my hat to this brother, man. Not every light-skinned guy is doing live streams about everybody hates black men, Not everybody's doing that. Not everybody's doing a play-by-play on, the Lapeef show and talking about who said what on the panel, and I can't believe, and girl,
and who got depeefed?
Yeah. That piff.
That piff.
But that's where we at, man. Afrofuturism. This guy is really engaging in Afrofuturism. A lot of times people think Afrofuturism is just about the comics and the graphics and stuff like that. No, it's about time and space. Where are Black people at in time and space? The past, because the past, and the past will determine, because the past determines the future at the present. There's an intersectionality of all of this. Okay?
Yes, exactly, dude.
There's an intersectionality behind all this, man. And so that's what Afrofuturism is grounded in. Black people's place within society from the past that tells you about the future at present form. There's a good movie. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
No, Afrofuturism really should be more of a spoken about concept. And I'm saying not from that Black Panther, Black Panther gave a really good theatrical rendition of what a highly technological Black society could look like, and what those people look like, and probably how they functioned, and that it was a good representation of it. But I don't think by any stretch or any means it should just be limited to Wakanda.
Right.
I think it should be more of a focus on real-time application. I think you could take inspiration from Wakanda, dude. You could take inspiration from that shit. I thought it was dope.
Yeah.
You know, in the original
First one
Black
and
Panther,
second one.
yeah, I thought all that shit was dope, man. But it to me, it's just like, okay, it doesn't have to just then be something, you know, just like in the imagination of our young boys and, you know, young girls and stuff. Like, no, it's sort of like, okay, you know, you can build devices. We can create shit. That was really what you should get inspired to do from all this, you know, and to think in such a way where you're gonna think to create the type of shit that you saw in that movie.
Yeah. Let me know if you can see my screen. I'm not sure.
All right, it says it's starting to share. There it is. Oh yeah, Tenet.
I consider this to be Afrofuturism too. If you really look at the story script and who's playing the role, I mean, I don't know if yeah, let me see. I don't think
I
Christopher
think that's
Nolan.
John David Washington. I think that's his name.
Yeah,
That's Denzel's son.
Yeah, it's Denzel's son, but I don't think he didn't direct it though, and so I don't
Oh
know
no.
if you can give it credit for being a quote unquote Afrofuturistic, but that would be exactly what Afrofuturism is, right? The fact that he had to go, and I'm spoiling it for people who have never seen it before. If you haven't seen it, you're crazy. You gotta be
Yeah,
living under a rock.
it's kind of ill.
You gotta be living under a rock. I hate these advertisers. The ability in this movie to have to go, everything is inverted in the movie, right? Time is inverted. And so in order for them to stop what's going to happen in the future, they have to go in the past in their present form. In the you know, the technology that they needed was exactly, you know, what creates these the functionality that this brother in the article is talking about with AI. Right? You have to train the models, the AI models, so that it can actually examine, you know, the cosmos correctly. You know, when he fired the bullet inside the range, and then it came back, you know, in his hand, he's like, how did it do that? It's inversion. Yeah, let me put the link in the chat because I know some folks. I don't want to spoil it for too many folks.
This is a trippy flick.
Peace. Can you guys hear me?
What's going on with it, bro?
Yeah.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm chilling, man. You?
Excellent, man. It's been a long time.
Hey, what's going on, bro?
Man, I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Complex?
Chilling, man. Chilling.
Good deal. I just wanted to come on and just talk to you guys for a second, but yeah, Tenet. If you haven't seen Tenet, that's a mind bender. That's one of those Matrix level movies you got to watch a couple of times till you finally get it, maybe. But that's a good one to watch.
I saw it in the movies. I saw it in the movies twice. That's how much I liked it. And I was the only one in the movies watching it. I didn't see anybody in there, you know, watching it. Yeah.
I caught that one on HBO, but I did watch it like twice. So,
yeah.
But it definitely explored, you know, because everything was inverted, time was inverted.
Yeah.
It's like things atrophied different. So things broke down differently because it was crazy. Like if he went back in time, it would be like cold, or everything was inverted. Physics, everything was different. And that was the whole point of the movie. That's what made it such a good movie. You know, just like Inception, it was just very mind bending.
Yeah. But you know, the fact that, you know, John Washington was the actor made it that much better, right? I mean, he's a split image of his father, if I've ever seen it myself.
Totally agree.
But when you really take Tenet into a Black perspective, right, an African perspective, and you think about what could have been done to starve off slavery.
Mm.
Oh shit!
Wait, is that the whole movie plan?
No, it's the preview, but yeah, YouTube is telling me that it's gonna block my stream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me stop that. And so when you think about what they did in the movie and you apply it to racism and white supremacy and slavery, and you think, well, we may have to design something, an inversion tool that's going to allow us to go into the past to defeat the colonizer so that we have a better future going forward.
Well, I think that's what that dude's AI tool is.
There you go.
In concept, when you think about it, right? You know, that's actually what that AI tool is. And Mike, there's a comment in the chat.
Okay.
I think it's from Average Joe or Joe Average. I think it says something to he's what he thought Afrofuturism was. It has like some like misandrous tenets and stuff like that. Now, I'll say this, right? Afrofuturism, if you just take it as the term, is just that, right? Futurism from our perspective, right? Now, I guess there could be a feminist angle to it, I suppose, and there are some that maybe take that. Over here, as technologists, there's a different angle we're taking on it. We're taking it more from a realistic. I think what the trope oftentimes it's kind of like maybe sort of like what do they call, I don't want to call it abstract like fashion. I don't want to call it that, but it's more like fashion arts, visual arts, graphic arts representations, right? And that's just one side of it. And there's a lot of like modeling, women modeling and stuff like that. So it's like for example, like a lot of the images you'll find that on the previous Sapio live streams, right? A lot of those are pulled. I have a whole collection of like art and all this type of shit, right? And a lot of those are pulled from that. So I think we oftentimes get the notion of the idea of Afrofuturism from like an entertainment angle. Like I said, nothing wrong with Wakanda and Black Panther and drawing from that, but then there's like the real idea of it, right? I'm trying to like say, okay, there's the imagery and there's the visual and the graphic and the artistic. There's that side, right? And there could be misandrous tropes within that. I mean, you like anything else, you want to pick and choose, right? What suits you, right? So that's what I'm gonna do. Like if whatever's misandrous, I don't mess with it. I mess with the things that align with me, and what aligns with me is the real technologies, the real brothers like this guy right here, right? Breaking ground. That's what interests us. That's what interests me specifically. I'll speak for myself, but I think I can speak for all of us too up here on the channel. That is what our interest in Afrofuturism is. That's our take.
Yeah, I
piggyback on that.
Yeah, go right ahead, bro.
Well, yeah, I think when you say Afrofuturism, I just immediately I think just anything melanated. It has our touch and our essence in it, and that's as far as using this new technology. Because I mean, you guys probably know, but I joined a certain class, and some of the things we learning so far, man, is some of this stuff is not that hard, man. For data science, I'm learning that it's not that difficult, and it's actually might be a little bit easier than what I do now. But it's a great opportunity to do anything centered around a future that has our touch on it. I think that's just the main takeaway for me when you say that, Afrofuturism, because I don't hear anybody talking about that nowhere, And now you guys kind of got me peaked, energy is up talking about this now because it's like, man, I haven't talked about this with anybody, man. And it's a big topic because you just don't, you don't hear it. But again, the technology is here, man, and it's a lot of resources I'm finding to start understanding this stuff. Python, NumPy, data models, all this stuff, and it's just a great time to just get into this stuff. I mean, whether you think you can do it or not, I just think it's a really great time. That's all I wanted to say.
Let me I think Joe Average, what he had just kind of replied and said he had read a couple of books by Octavia Butler, right? And wasn't really too fond of men, right, in those books and stuff. And I say fair enough, right? But here's what I would posit, not only to you but to everybody listening, right? I mean, I'm not one to take my cues from someone like that, right? I myself am a futurist, right? You see, so I try to be it, or at least create something that reflects my ideals. Like I in my own shoes and in my own name and in my own person, I will be that representation. She can write books on it, sure. But then there's me over here, and then there's what we're doing, right? So what does Afrofuturism look like from our perspective? Like, I get she wrote books, and I get yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm not even arguing with you, I'm just saying, right? But what about from us?
No, that part.
But she's not the only Afrofuturistic author, right?
Yeah.
And so you have many other authors, and I'm bringing this up on screen because the National Museum for African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. has an Afrofuturism exhibit going on right now.
Okay.
Okay, and it's going to be going on until 2024. I'll be making my trip down there probably in June when it gets a little warmer.
Check that out.
Yeah. And so there's different perspectives that can be taken, but I think when we throw the term misandry around, I remember a time before there was a Black Brain Trust that there was a whole lot of misandry going on on some of these panels, and nobody had anything to say about it. But now that this word has entered this term has entered the lexicon, now these guys are throwing it around and saying, well, everything's misandry now. Well, if that was the case, where was the misandry and identity politics back then, right?
Well, you guys have looked it up 10 years ago? Okay.
Yeah. I think Octavia Butler does get a lot of pushback, though, from what I know of. Or, I have a couple of books in ebooks of hers in my collection. But I think sometimes we read into one author's perspective and think that that's the whole perspective, and that's not it. That's definitely not it. And so, actually, let me put this.
You have to formulate your own perspective.
Yeah, it's an interpretation, right? She's not perfect. Right. She's not even alive anymore. And she had, I think she was, well, I don't want to say that she was autistic, but I do know that she had a learning disability, from my understanding. And so I think sometimes you got to take things with a grain of salt. I would say that, Donald Sterling from the LA Clippers, I would say he was more misandrous than she was. Okay. I would say that King Von, out there in Chicago, running around bodying every Black man he came across and being a rapper, and no one called it out, I would say he was pretty misandrous too. But we don't really put those people in those categories. We kind of only look at it from a manosphere perspective, and then put Black women in the crosshairs and say, look, see, bad,
Sort of like when somebody learns a new word, they can't stop using it.
No, it's fine though that everybody's learning, but I think in the manosphere, we tend to over scrutinize what Black women do,
Mm-hmm.
And then we apply said biases against said Black women, and that creates a lot of contention that's unnecessary going forward. And you can't really organize under those conditions. I think that that really hurts Black men's ability to expand out. Like this brother that was at MIT.
Lord.
would not have been able to do what he's doing if he had isolated himself, to a social space like the manosphere.
Not at
especially
all.
2.0. If anything, he's more 3.0 than he is not. So I hope people, man, on the East Coast get the opportunity to take a trip down to the National Museum of African American History and Culture and go down to the Smithsonian and engage in Afrofuturism. And it's going to be here till next year. You got a whole year to figure this out.
That's better than partaking in any distractions out here. Go check out Afrofuturism.
Yeah, and I think I don't even think the surface has been scratched on what this truly looks like.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think, for those who can kind of bring their own sort of image of what the future looks like to some sort of fruition in today's time, like you'll see it. The more people who do it, you'll see it from different perspectives and different. Like we're in different venues, even like, dude, what are like the culinary arts, even food and cooking and stuff like that, right? It could be expressed in so many ways, and that's why I'm kind of like, man, like if we're gonna talk about the future, let's not be a group of people in the future that still follows like trends from like say like media sources, right? Everybody's entertainment based. So, in this new time, if we're talking the future, really the future's tech. So everything should have some sort of imprint of that. And I'm not saying, yeah, everybody just become a damn droid or something. But with the onset of even AI cloning people's voices and stuff, dude, like you had engineering cannabis, you had to say, okay, well, look, here's what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to encode your voice and then license it so that you can bump it up against any time AI does something that has your voice signature and stuff, right? See, so these are future solutions for not even future problems.
Present problems.
They're already doing it. They're already making these AI-based songs and it's fooling people.
Yeah, but
they really are.
Yeah, imagine if you had a set of glasses that were connected, that were IoT-based glasses that were connected to a high-speed network that can look at a plate of rice and know that it's jollof from this region at this, with this with this seasoning. That's the futurism that I'm talking about.
That type of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the ability to speak Swahili when you haven't even been introduced to it yet.
See, I imagine, this you can make your own C-3PO now, basically. you have them following you around.
That are coming out and they're setting up whole like 3D printing, like for whatchamacallits, what are they called, prosthetics?
Yeah.
Right. Like all these all these crazy next level, and you see, all it is it's the engineering, and then in the CAD design, and then the machine just prints the parts and just stick the stuff together, put it on, boom, you got yourself a new hand and stuff, and it's
exo
like,
hand.
We're legit here now. You know what I mean?
Right. See, I always imagine this, man, because I got into Star Wars and Star Trek through my mom. And I always pictured this, like, where we at now. This is when the captain comes on the bridge, and you just like computer, and you just like plot a course here, and then it plots the course, and you just travel billions of miles across the galaxy. That's where we at now, and that's the power of this AI stuff, man.
Well, no, now it's Alexa.
Or when you think about in Wakanda Forever, when Shuri was arguing with the AI, and she was, scrambling to try to create a suit for herself, to fight. I forget the cat's name.
More.
Yeah, the cat from under the water. I forget his name now. But anyways, the way she was interacting with the machine actually knew, the system actually knew whether or not she was angry, sad, or distraught, and it acted based on her behavior, right? It was engaging her based on her behavior. And it had an authentic voice, right? And it had an authentic African voice, right? And that's the sort of futuristic idea, I think that this brother is trying to really get to, that he's training the AI models to actually look at it in an unbiased perspective, from an unbiased perspective. So it doesn't have, the dilution of white supremacy in its hands all over it, because that's pretty much what's happening now. We hear about these sort of accidents with these autonomous vehicles from Cruise and Waymo and, some of these sort of autonomous vehicles. A lot of times it's because the AI modeling, the OpenCV, right? The computer vision that they're using has not necessarily been trained on African Americans. And so the Black person that got hit by one of those autonomous vehicles, only reason they got hit, and I think it was a Tesla, if I remember correctly, the only reason they got hit because they never trained it on African Americans to begin with. They never trained on melanated people. We're not a part of the ethical process for artificial intelligence and other futuristic and emerging technologies. And that's why we try to have these discussions.
And, you got with this GPT-4 stuff, this kind of marked the onset of the AGI aspect, right? So now this is that human to digital human interfacing, right? This is AGI is the beginning stages of this. For those of you guys that don't know, artificial general intelligence. Yep. That's the same intelligence, Mike, that you were speaking about that was going back and forth with Surrey.
Yep.
Okay. So the AI that Mike talked about in the movie going back and forth with Surrey, and this AI could recognize tone, inflection, body language. There was a whole lot of things it could recognize and then formulate a response, right? From an AGI. Okay. GPT-4 is the beginnings of that.
Well, it's actually called LLM, right? Large language modeling.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called LLM. So it's behavioral mimicking. It's not necessarily AI, but it's close enough to be called such.
With the AGI aspect, right? So that interfacing, though, it's going to start to look like that exchange, Mike. Like when you have like an AGI based platform that has voice interaction, when you add that component, that's essentially what Siri was interfacing with. We already have that. Yeah.
Well, not to the extent that
not to that extent,
right? Because the way Black
is here now.
Yeah, but the way in Marvel, the way how they depict it is as if there are leaps and bounds into the future, right? That's how they see themselves in comparison. Because remember in Wakanda Forever, when the girl put out an iPhone and she was like, that's primitive. That's primitive technology. So she's thinking 60, 70, 80, if not 100 plus years into the future at the present state that they're in. And so the AI that they're talking to, they've largely trained, they had to been trained over years in order to get to that aspect, right? And so I'm saying that sort of system doesn't exist as of yet. We don't really have that.
No, not yet. Not like that.
We're
not to our knowledge.
Yeah. Even when you talk about Iron Man with like Friday, right? Yeah, Raul's on it. And so I think that, we're in interesting times right now. We're at a time we couldn't even conceive this 2 or 3 years ago. This is what's happening just in the last 6 months, but I think that we're missing out on a big opportunity. I would really like to see Afrofuturism become a actual degree for undergrad. I think that would be a part of the STEAM, right? Because they want to add art to STEAM, art to STEM. Yeah. That Afrofuturism is the perfect, application for this. The perfect subject.
There's a lot of outlets. There's a lot of real world laterals, I guess you could say, to something like that.
Yeah.
You could have tentacles in, say, art and film, right? Technology. Right. Like I said, even culinary art, stuff like that. What does the diet of the future look like, for example? You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of art, I mean, speaking of art, Art Newstall would be considered Afrofuturism.
Yeah.
Yeah, Art Newstall would consider to be Afrofuturism. In this space, at least. Could throw Dead Set in there as well. I think that we're not really well, I mean, we're just having a conversation now, but I think that there is a there for this sort of subject matter.
Well, Mike, man, look, I would say, and this is just my own position on it, right? Like I'm just kind of speaking on it from my own, right? Like my own position, right? So I look at micromobility as part of that, right?
Yep.
It's a new form of how we're going to get around. And when you look at, again, dude, I collect like Afrofuturism art and stuff like that. Hell, there's a live stream, man. I think it's called Dating and Mating in the Fourth Industrial Age or some shit. And we were kind of like going over like what the future Black folks are going to look like. You know what I'm saying? So things like culinary diet stuff, how we move, mobility.
Yeah, what we wear.
Small little mobile devices that we just boom and they zip off. Shit like you see in animes and stuff,
Well, think about it. Think about an electric scooter, right? I mean, we talk about e-scooters a lot, micromobility, and you're talking about micromobility now, but every iteration of an e-scooter becomes faster and faster, right? Even these, what do you call them? Uni wheels.
The uni wheels, yeah.
Yeah, a uni wheel. I saw, there's a guy that's close to my job. He has the full like Iron Man suit and with the helmet. It's a motorcycle helmet.
It goes so fast, bro. Like you gotta like be suited up.
Yeah, and the way he flies through the bike lanes on it, he's got to be doing 35, 40 miles an hour.
Like about 40. Yeah, you gotta be suited for that, man.
Yeah, especially downhill.
I learned my lesson.
Yeah, especially going downhill, right? But think about a Bluetooth helmet connected to that unit wheel and the ability to know to say where you're going and it just goes.
Well, okay. So
and the ability for it to communicate with the traffic lights so that you have the right of way first and all other traffic just has to stop. That's the futuristic stuff.
But wait a minute. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. I've already seen the bike helmets that have the LCD interlay.
Yep.
Right? Like the heads up and the visor, right? Okay. You could Bluetooth that to your scooter, bro. These are like a lot of these are Bluetooth enabled. You know that, right?
Yeah. But when you think about five
lights, switch the speeds, like yeah.
But when you think about 5G, you need to have what they call V2I, right? Vehicle to infrastructure communications protocol embedded. And so I'm thinking beyond Bluetooth, right? I'm thinking a whole new radio communication.
Like IoT?
Yeah, we're talking about a radio communications protocol where all of this works in sync, right? If I fall off my Uniwheel, it knows to call 911. It know right. and first responders know I'm at such and such section, at this given time, and they don't have to know whether or not I'm allergic to certain medicines or whatever it is. All of that information just gets funneled right back.
All your medical records pull up and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's. I would dare say, man, like you could probably mess around and even do something like that now. I've seen just various working models of like what we're talking about, right? But like I said, like for me, man, it's like I look at micromobility and stuff as a component in that, because I want to start doing like manufacturing and like literally from in-house, dude. So like all those futuristic, like sleek looking designs on the chassis, where there's like these very striking lines, disc wheels and stuff like that. I want to actually create those type of bikes. And so now when you've got like 3D printing machines and all that type of stuff, it becomes very easy to prototype and spin up a component, do it, test it, see if it works, so that you can approve it for final production, right? So, that's what I want to, do that, because then you can actualize these concepts. You can actually make them.
Yeah.
So it's really just a matter of like taking like the idea, putting it into a visual representation, and then going through the process of materializing it. But that's like my take on it. That's my angle from the whole thing, right? Like how people are going to be moving around in the future and stuff. And Mike, like I take all that from, dude, we were RC nerds, dude. Batteries, motors, controllers, dude. It's something that we were doing as a kid, and things converge, like you said, past, present, and future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. None of this stuff is outside of the realm of possibility here. What this brother is doing at MIT is scratching the surface, but he's at the beginning of the apex of what's about to come down. We need more people involved in that sort of scientific and cultural development that knows that he's not one of these people that says, oh, I don't believe in racism. No, he's like, no, we see it and we're going to counter this, and we're going to collaborate to do this. And so he's at the apex of all of this. He's working at a high level, and he's still relatively young. He's not like he's in his 80s or something like that. No, this guy's still in his 30s. So,
and Mike, I know another question with regards to that. So, is this something where then his AI, I guess you can say, application could then be used in various scenarios, right? See, so as opposed to going to this AI and asking it questions about historical this, or you know what I mean, instead of going over here and asking it those questions, you come over to say his AI and ask those questions, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the ability for a two-wheel e-scooter to walk itself over to me so I can get on it.
Yeah. We could do that with trikes now. If you have servo steering,
yeah,
we could do that with the IoT. You can do that right now, dude. Because unless we've got gyroscopic self-balancing two-wheel scooters, the people who are doing it now, they use a three-wheel or use a trike, so it's already going to stand on its own. And then as long as there's a powered servo steering mechanism, you could trigger it, and it can go on its own. It'll turn. You already do it right now.
Yeah, I think that we'll have to start revisiting a lot of this stuff going forward. I know we kind of slowed down from this last year, but now we're gonna have to turn it up again, because this Afrofuturism exhibit at the Smithsonian is actually going to be pivotal to these discussions. I'm gonna go down there. I gotta go down there. I can't let this slide by, because this is like a once in the I shouldn't say once in a lifetime, but it's definitely going to be once in a blue moon. Yeah. You're never going to see this, after 2024. Not with the way this country is going. You're lucky they don't ban this type of stuff. Like they ban everything else, all the books and stuff like that.
I mean, I'm just tripping, Mike. I'm tripping out on, and you're right, dude. Because I've been kind of sitting on an idea to follow up from the last Afrofuturism live stream that we did. And I wanted to talk about like Sun Ra, who is basically, from a music and arts perspective, is essentially like the father of Afrofuturism. So I'm saying, and this is all about perspective. So shout out to the brother who was dropping the comments in there, right? I understand Octavia Butler, but as a dude who came up in hip hop and the music scene, Sun Ra was seen as that dude. You know what I mean? Like he spun off Parliament Funkadelic and Earth, Wind, like all. When you go back to, so think about it like this: you go back to the onset of Sun Ra and the orchestra, right? And the type of music that he was making, and the type of thematics, right, and the aesthetics. So when you start to like then look at like Earth, Wind and Fire, Ozzy Brothers, all these groups, SOS Band, like go back and look at those album covers, bro. They had spaceships and zeppelins and airships and dirigibles, and right, like go look at the artwork. there was something being communicated, right? And that stuff was coming from Sun Ra back then. And so I used to trip out on it when I was a youngster coming up, like, damn, like they got like, why is everything got like a flying ship or something on all these album covers and stuff? Right.
Yeah,
So it's always just kind of bug me out. Outkast.
Yeah. Wu-Tang.
Ultramagnetic MCs.
Yeah.
Right. Africa Bambaataa. Right. Like we've seen these thematics of like future shit in our art, man. It's like we keep kind of just getting kind of tapped on the head with it a little bit. But
The
then
artifacts.
Dude, all that. The problem is that we get spoon fed the bullshit on a consistent basis, right? The bullshit gets fed to you on a consistent basis, and then that part of us, dude, that creates that high art shit, the high concepts and all that. Man, it's like you get a sprinkle here and a sprinkle here and a sprinkle there and a sprinkle here. And no, these live streams have to happen more often, bro. I agree with you, because it has to be a more common conversation.
Great way to end it. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button on the way out and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust.